So, do you have any doubts about practice or how to practice?
One question I have is, uh, as you have said in your teachings, that rather than making the meditation a goal and using it to achieve something in future, we should see the enlightenment as now rather than something as a future goal. But then we still have to strive and work towards meditation in the meditation, and try to push ourselves to be more aware and try to steady the mind. So there becomes a conflict in the mind between uh, what we should do and what we should not do. So if you can speak anything on that.
Yeah, the language itself is a time-bound condition. You know, like the Buddha emphasized, uh, the nature of sankhara is impermanent. Time is a sankhara, and our language, our thinking process, is limited to time perceptions. And of course, enlightenment isn't a perception. And nibbana, the word nibbana, is not a perception. I mean, the word itself is, the reality of it is here and now, and timelessness. You can't imagine timelessness. You know, when you try to think about it, you can't really imagine. It becomes annihilation or nothingness. But there's, when you reflect on the Dhamma in the present moment, it is, you're experiencing the impressions of your body sitting, you're experiencing the emotional state you're having, whatever it might be, what your senses are contacting, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling. So the conditions, time conditions are around us all the time. We're thinking creatures, and we've developed thinking to ourselves. We create ourselves through our thoughts, through our memories, and it's to break down these illusions that the mindfulness is always here and now. It's not something to become mindful in the future. And then you see yourself as a person who's got to become more mindful or develop mindfulness. That's thinking in the present moment. So what I encourage is to be more aware of the thinking because you're thinking. Like right now, we're all experience consciousness. We're all conscious forms, and consciousness has no form, but we're experiencing it, and so you know your breath inhales and exhales like this. You know what you're feeling, what kind of mood is, whatever it might be, pleasant or unpleasant is the way it is, and you know your physical body is like this. There's this knowing. So like consciousness is knowing. That's its nature, is knowing. But then we tend to create ourselves through the cultural conditioning, through the ego, social conditioning, religious conditioning. All we form a sense of ourself as this body, and we limit ourselves always by what we create, and we tend to believe that. It forms, the ego forms in youth. It becomes almost fixed in teenage years. So gender of the body, we identify with being male or female, we identify with race, with nationality, with ethnic background. All these become part of how we see ourselves in the universe. But in mindfulness is where we are letting go of these creations, not destroying them, but beginning to see them in terms of, from the Dhamma level of Sankhara, Anicca, Dukkha, the three characteristics of existence. So, and when you reflect on your life, your experience is always in the present. You know, you remember the past, you remember going to see the Kating yesterday evening. But what is that now? In this moment is memory, isn't it? You remember last evening. And tomorrow is, you can make plans, expect dread or things tomorrow, but that's happening now in the present. So there's only this present moment, which is timeless. And when you start thinking about it, then you're thrown back into time. So the point of real bhavana or meditation is to trust this awareness, begin to see it not something you must get, but something that's natural and trustworthy. So in Theravada Buddhism, I always use the three refuges, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, because that is about the present moment. It's not about believing in Gautama the Buddha, or we're not worshipping a dead sage, or Dhamma is some kind of abstract reality, or Sangha is just monastic bhikkhus, but they're refuges. Refuges is a safe place to be. When you feel the danger and threat and fear in this realm, you seek a refuge in a safe place of safety. And through my explorations of this, the only real safety is in awareness. Because then through that, we can then cope with the changing conditions of aging, of sickness, of loss, external changes, political, economic cycles, or family problems. These are conditioned phenomena. And if we have this refuge, then we have a way of dealing with these life's experiences. But if we don't have a refuge, then we're always frightened. We worry about the future. What's going to happen to India in the future? In Thailand now, for example, the king passed away, and he was a great uniting force in the Thai society. Because Thai society is quite divided politically, but nationally it was really united under this very benevolent king. And he's been reigning for 60, 70 years. So 70 years, I think. And the future, is full of doubt, fear, speculation. What's going to happen to Thailand? But in terms of refuge, then Buddha Dhamma Sangha is a better refuge than in politics, or in a king or a great leader, because they come and go like any other condition. Observe how you create yourself, through identity, through memory, through attachment to memories, to ideas you have. It's not to the Buddha isn't an annihilationist, so he wasn't trying to destroy sankharas, to get rid of them, but to see them, to see the limitation you place yourself under by blindly attaching to them. So these, like the Four Noble Truths, was my formula for dealing with this, because that takes you from the reality of the common experience of suffering to ultimate realization, to Dhamma. So it goes from the most ordinary, the banal, and what we don't want. Nobody wants suffering, and then we change our attitude towards it. So it's a changing the attitude from the self-centered delusion we create to awareness, which includes, is expansive, has no, puts us in a relationship that we can reflect, not make judgments, not judging or condemning or approving or liking or disliking, but discerning the nature of sankhara in a very direct way.
I've recently started practicing sound of silence, and since I read about it very briefly, I feel I'm able to do that, but still I want to understand further about sound of silence. If you can throw some light on that, please.
Yeah, it's not really a sound, and more like a vibration. And I found when the mind's empty, I became aware of it years ago, and when the mind is empty, then I noticed this kind of resonating sound of silence. I didn't know what it was because it's not mentioned in Theravada Buddhism, and in Hinduism they use it, Nada Yoga, and in the Santmat religion, and the Sikhs. So it's recognized, but in Theravada they just call it emptiness, and emptiness also has its limitations. Means like there shouldn't be anything there at all, and sound of silence is oxymoron. Is silence doesn't have sound. If there's sound, there's not silence. But this is the problem with language. It is what it is, though. Like if you notice this, what I experience it as is consciousness, aware of itself. It's pure awareness, and it is a continuum. It doesn't have a beginning or end. Maybe your attention to it begins and ends. You forget it, and then you get caught up in thinking or feeling and reacting to things. But as a reference point, it really, I found it gives you a spaciousness and a continuum of emptiness that I encourage to develop and cultivate, because then you have a very clear perspective on your emotions, your thinking patterns, your physical condition, your sensory experiences. That is like, it's where everything appears and disappears. Well, like a a movie screen where the show goes on, but the screen is always there. The show on the screen changes and disappears. And there's in one of the so I've used it as through cultivating it, and when I went to live in London, 1977, I became aware of this when I was a Samanera back in 1966. I didn't know what it was, but I was I did an intense, years-long meditation in a meditation monastery in Nongkai, which is the province bordering on Laos. And so because going through a year by yourself, where you don't, I was only reading the word of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, and I found out after a while the mind calms down, then there's just this emptiness, and I noticed this vibration or sound of silence. And so I noticed when I really stayed with it, I become equanimous, very peaceful. And then the following year I ordained as a bhikkhu and went to train with Luang Por Chah. And then I kind of forgot about it. But in London in 1977, I was in a situation. We lived in a house in Hampstead, northwest London, and on a busy street. And the committee that invited me to England had conflicts within the committee. They didn't agree on hardly anything. So there was all this quarreling going on, and at first I didn't understand what was going on because I hadn't been involved in it. I hadn't been in on what the problems really were. But anyway, I was aware of feeling aversion to this whole situation I was in. And then one afternoon, I was walking down Haverstock Hill, the main street, going by the Vihara, and the sound of silence on a busy street in London kind of like overwhelmed me. I suddenly remembered it. And then I thought, this is probably how to deal with this situation where there's quarreling and acrimony and unpleasantness going on, and you're kind of in the middle of it, but you don't really know how to resolve it. And so I developed equanimity within the situation, and then became more aware of what the problem really was, and so I could resolve the conflict. And that was not through taking sides, but through equanimity. And that sound of silence helped me to develop that equanimity. And then I still didn't teach it to anybody because I didn't know where it would take you. So I didn't teach it for quite a few years afterward until I felt more confident with it. But if you notice, it has a continuum in it. And it's not, you pay attention to it, you rest in it. Trying to absorb into it, you can't do it, but you can just relax. It's got a sense of relaxed acceptance of it, appreciation of it. And then you can reflect on, it will take you to equanimity, and then you can also begin to, with vipassana, noting the nature of sankharas, you begin to notice the cessation of thoughts, of emotions, of moods. So like developing that, the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering, the end of suffering, is through letting things cease, not trying to get rid of them, but letting them cease. And that when things cease, then there's still this awareness with this continuum of sound of silence. What is that? And that's peaceful. It is where conditioned phenomena is not peaceful. It's exciting, it's repelling, it's right, it's wrong, it's good, it's bad, but it can be boring, it can be dreary, or horrible, or wonderful. But sound of silence is like this. It has a continuity and peacefulness, and it's where conditions cease. And this you can, because the Buddha is taking not from the macrocosmic view of the whole universe, because we're limited by the physical form we're in, which is a mortal form, a human body. And so you still, like the Buddha after enlightenment, still had to get old, get sick, and die in a physical body. And so, but these are just the natural changing attributes of sankharas, is old age, sickness, death. But they were no longer seen in terms of from ignorance, from avijja, from ignorance of Dhamma, but to see them in terms of just the way they are. And then we can cope with getting old, with sickness, weakness, loss of loved ones, and inevitable death. Like in so much emphasis that I've noticed in the West, they emphasize like anicca dukkha anatta a lot, the impermanence of sankharas, the unsatisfactoriness of the non-self, and but there's the element like the earth, fire, water, air elements. They have form and shape and size and color. They have qualities. But then there's also space and consciousness. So in the scriptures, there's the earth element, fire, water, air, and space and consciousness. Well, earth, fire, water, and air are all formed elements. They have the qualities of beauty, ugly, red and blue, big and small, right and wrong, and so forth, where space is with us right now, like on a visual level. We're in space, but we may not notice it, that space, we don't reflect on space till somebody tells us to. So, but space is one of the elements and consciousness. And space and consciousness have no physical boundary. And so with mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, that's what the Buddha's was teaching, to rest in this awareness, which is conscious awareness, openness, a willingness to the present, because that's the reality of now. This is what we're experiencing life, its changes, its conditions is now. So if you're thinking about the future, then, like a lot of our tendency from the cultural conditioning is to practice meditation to get a good result in the future, which is how we all began. I began with that. I saw myself as somebody that I needed to do something to become enlightened, because I saw myself through negative perceptions, through seeing, being self-critical as a personal trait, and just see what I didn't like about myself and seem to see myself through those negative perceptions. So I saw myself as an imperfect, unenlightened being, seeking wisdom from enlightened beings. And so that's fair enough. That's the conventional world. And it got me into the position I'm in. But then this needs to be reflected upon. Is that reality? Am I really this flawed character that my personality presents? Or what is that? And through awareness, then you begin to see that you create that. I am this physical body, for one thing. The body is what it is. It's a natural form, like any other forms around us. The trees, the creatures in the jungle, the good thing, the whole thing is form phenomena, and our bodies belong to that realm. They're part of that realm of sankhara and form and pleasure, pain. This is a sense realm where we have to feel everything till we die. So we're born into these sensitive forms that they're totally sensitive. From day one to the time you die. And this sensitiveness the sensitivity includes both pleasure, neutrality, and pain. Now we can be aware of pleasurable physical sensations, we like that, the pleasant ones. So we want more of those. The painful, unpleasant ones we want to get rid of. The neutral physical sensations we seldom ever notice. And that's what I liked about Goenkaji's sweeping practice. I found it quite interesting to be aware of the neutral feeling, because I never thought of that before. And then you realize so much of your experience is neutral. It's neither pleasant nor unpleasant on a physical level. But because it is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, we don't really notice it until somebody tells us to pay attention to the sensations on the top of your scalp. And I remember first trying to imagine how to do that and go up here. I didn't feel anything. And then as I stayed with that, you have to experience some kind of neutral tingling sensations, or I don't know how to describe them, but they're neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And the body seemed to appreciate that. I found that sweeping practice very relaxing. Through an hour of that, the body feels so good that in its own right. And then I began to think, so much of my body I I just never pay any attention to. Only the parts that give me pleasure or pain. And most of the body is neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So this is, through reflecting on that, it's this reflectiveness that the Buddha emphasized, the ability to observe and watch and learn from what, awaken to, and not just be caught in habit patterns, reactivity that we're bound into if we aren't mindful. And our life tends to be just reactive to stimuli. But consciousness is not having any boundary, and it's anatta, it's not personal. And so you reflect you create your personality in consciousness. So I am an unenlightened person who needs to do something to become enlightened. I'm creating that, believing that, I think that's how I see myself, and I grasp that perception. That's like the clinging, grasping of sankhara. And then if I never question that, and if I don't question that or reflect on it, then I'm always in a position of being unenlightened who needs to do something to become enlightened. So one of the, with Ajahn, he was always, I had to learn the Thai language to understand what he was teaching, which took, quite a bit of time. But it's not an easy language to learn. And then but I kept picking up words, and he'd make me stay through his long Dhamma talks in the evening. He was at his peak when I met him. He was about 48 years old when I met him, and he was, really powerful at 48. And he would talk. He had Dhamma talks in the evening, after evening puja, to the monks and non-lay people would come from the villages or the town, and I couldn't understand anything he was saying at first. And but I'd pick up words because I was trying to learn Thai, and one word he kept saying was about attachment, and I could see how I'd had insight already into attachment. How when I attach to something, I become what I'm attached to. I become. If I'm attached to pain, then I feel then I'm very miserable. And if I attach to happy memories, like I used to entertain myself during these long dasanas by trying to remember happy memories, kind of entertain myself because I was bored or, negative, didn't want to be there, couldn't understand what was going on. And I get caught in negativity, so then I remember like happy childhood and happy days which I could entertain myself and I feel happy. And I was clinging to happy memories. And this clinging, upadana in Pali, and then that is what he was always talking about. And he had the ability to direct my attention to here rather than to him. Because the illusion I had was he knows me better than I do. He knows what I'm thinking. He knows what's wrong with me when I'm off the track. He's the all-seeing master. That's the creation I was making, this great master. And I was the devoted disciple, bumbling through the monastic training and learning another language. And so that was, but that kind of attitude, he didn't reinforce. And so he was be quite direct in getting me to look at what I'm actually doing. And because we are thinking creatures, Manusia is a Pali word for humanity, and it means like mano is a mental creature. And the English word man probably comes from mano, meaning the one who thinks. So thinking, and can be a blessing or it can be a curse, because we can use, we've developed the thinking abilities with reason and logic. We've developed science and rational in ideals and democratic ideals, and that through thinking. But also it becomes obsessive, and it becomes like a curse. We become obsessed with our thoughts, and they can drive us insane. So I had insight in some area. I had to stop thinking. But how do you stop thinking? You try to force yourself to stop thinking, and you can't sustain it just through willpower, through trying to just use willpower to stop thinking. And then I kept thinking about stopping thinking. You go, it's a vicious circle, what do you do? Or how can you get out of the trap of your own thinking? And then the sound of silence helps with that. Because you do stop thinking with it. And then notice the ending of like questions, self-inquiry type practices, where you use like who am I, or things like like Zen Buddhism, Japanese Zen about the koan, conundrums that intellectually make no sense. Like, what is the sound of the clap of one hand? And so then the student tries to figure it out by thinking about it, thinking it's some kind of clever thought process that has an answer for it. But the point is, it stops thinking. Like, when you ask yourself a question, there's a gap there. There's any question. Where is my coffee cup? and then there's a gap, and that's what you're interested in, not in the answer to the question. So it can be a perfunctory question, just it doesn't have to be something you really want an answer for, because you know the answer. But you're more interested in the process of questioning, and you begin to notice the gap, the empty place after you ask yourself a question. And so you notice that you're conscious, but there's no thought there. And you note that. Because it happens all the time in ordinary, you're doing it all the time and you never notice that. You just go on from one, where's my coffee cup? It's over there. but you're interested in not in the meaning of the question so much as how it affects consciousness. So And so it's awakening to this continuum, that rather than abiding in this continuum that is the real cultivation, the real bhavana of developing the path. And so I would, because I'm a thinking person, and I like to think, and I want answers to my questions, solutions to all the problems. So that's my personality. So I would investigate. If I just try to suppress thought, it doesn't work. So I'm going to intentionally think, but observe it. Be the observer of thinking, rather than just trying to resist it and annihilate it. So I take a neutral sentence like I am a human being, which didn't arouse any emotion. And then I notice, intentionally thinking this one sentence. My interest was in the gap between the words. So I started, before I start thinking there's consciousness, empty, and you know that. And then you intentionally think and then that goes very quickly, not a very long word. Then there's another between I and am. So this may sound rather childish, but it actually, the point is to be aware not only of the sankharas, or the I am a human being, because that you're not really interested in, but in the space between the words, so that you're informing consciousness with wisdom, getting to notice the reality that you're experiencing here and now, and rather than seeing thinking as through either becoming obsessed with it or attached to it or trying to stop it or get rid of it, you use it. Because all sankharas take you to emptiness, anatta. So then you have I, and you notice that there's nothing and they're resonating around human being. And at the end, after being, there's nothing. And so you're noticing that, noting that. It's like educating yourself, knowing how your mind works. And every word then takes us to emptiness if we, to pure consciousness, emptiness, and consciousness are the same. Consciousness isn't, when you're conscious, you're not dead. There's not annihilation. But it's knowing. It's this discerning ability. That is the way that the Buddha emphasizes the gate to the deathless. The gateway to the deathless, to ultimate reality.
So, one more question I have is that many of our friends here have been practicing Vipassana meditation for long. And sometimes what happens in Vipassana meditation is that the tendency becomes to try to keep noticing more subtle and subtle sensations on the body, and then one get attached to that pleasant sensations, and it kind of become trap when the pleasant sensations are not there. One tries to find those sensations. So, if you can give some light that how, while still doing vipassana meditation, how can one have the right attitude which can help?
Well, it's, the right attitude really is awareness, trust it. And the thing with refined concentration is that it gets pleasant, and then it creates, but it's impermanent, and then you desire it. So you have the desire from memory, and so the next time you sit, you want to get that pleasant sensation. Where if you trust yourself to observe that desire, I'm not saying you're wrong to desire it, but be aware of it and see what happens. And if the pleasant sensations come back or not, doesn't matter. Because, like, with samadhi practices and that, you get some very kind of blissful states, and then that creates a desire to have them again. So the first time I ever practiced meditation, I started as a layman in Bangkok in 1966, and I'd been interested in Buddhism for years before that, but I never practiced it. So I went to Thailand to find a meditation teacher, and I was advised to go to Wat Mahathat, one of the main old temples in Bangkok near the Grand Palace, where they had a famous meditation teacher. So I went there, and then I was teaching English at the university, Thammasat University, which is right next to Wat Mahathat. So I had a really nice setup. I teach English in the morning and then go over to Wat Mahathat in the afternoon. And about the third day I started third day of meditation, I went into where they gave me a place to sit in the monastery, where I was alone. I was sitting there, and they do this rise and fall, this Mahasi Sayadaw type practice from Burma, and I was doing that. And then I heard a door slam, and I went into a profound samadhi state, just like that. And it was so utterly present. And so then I thought, this is my third day of meditation, but this must be enlightenment. The ego jumps in, because it doesn't know what else to do. And the experience was so pleasant, I wasn't expecting it. Because learning to concentrate on the rise and fall belly at first is not an easy thing. It wasn't easy for me to develop, but the door slamming seemed to shock something, send me into this state. So then, next day I went back there, and I couldn't get it back. Nobody slammed the door. And I was trying desperately, it was attached to the memory of the previous day. And but you learn from things like that. It's like Lupa Chao is like the second noble truth. That's very important, because that deals with desire and the cause, the origin of suffering is attachment to desire. And so then he says there's three kinds of desire, like Gama Danha, which is sensual desire, and through what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, you know, the desire to get something beautiful or good to eat and things like this, sensual desire. Then the second one is Bhavadana, desire for becoming. And so Bhavadana is what most of us are in meditation for, to become enlightened. So it's a good, in English, desire always has a kind of negative. If you say someone has a lot of desires, it's not a compliment. You know, that's, but in Bhavadana, it can be very noble, wanting to save the world and help the poor, and all this can be, you know, can be a very good thing, but it's still Danha, Bhavadana, and Vipavadana is trying to desire to get rid of what you don't like. So wanting to get rid of thinking is Bhavadana, you know, trying to annihilate your thinking, stop thinking, is Vipavadana. And so through investigating these three kinds of desires, I became aware so much of my life was Vipavadana, desire to get rid of. It's like a control, wanting to control things. Fear of losing control. And desire to become something. I didn't like who I was. I wanted to become something better than that. With Bhavadana, by getting rid of the old ego, Vipavadana. And so what the Buddha is suggesting in this investigation of the Second Noble Truth is to move Danha, desire. It's not to get rid of it, but you awaken to it. So Danha always has this longing, this wanting, either to get something or get rid of something. And this is the realm we live in. It's a Danha, desire realm. That's why we're here, why we have human bodies. So it's the natural state of this realm. But if your true nature, you is Danha, the desire, you wouldn't be able to see it. You have no perspective on it. But because your true nature is Dhamma, consciousness, then you have this reflectiveness on desire. Desire is a condition, it's a sankhara, rising and ceasing. So then this is discerning, this is like wisdom, panya, or discernment. So you can begin to see so much of my lay life when I was lay was this trying to control things and desire to get rid of things I didn't like. And that was quite a revelation because I never thought of it before. I never really noticed that in me. You know, and it was so much a part of how I reacted and responded to situations that it was beyond question until I started contemplating the Second Noble Truth. So like with the sweeping practice, it must be a lot of Vipavadana and Bhavadana, trying to get rid of, trying to control. And so notice that this is the awakening to desire, not judging it, it's not personalizing it, saying that whatever desires arise in your mind are yours, and they're good or bad desires. You're interested in the fact that they are conditions that come and go. So your relationship to desire changes from one who's caught in those three kinds of reactions to life to one who's an observer of it, the knower of the world. One of the epithets for the Buddha, Lokavitu. So the second and third noble truth kind of depend on each other to investigate. Like I always encourage this what we call dhamma vichaya, or investigating. It's one of the factors of enlightenment. And the problem that I found that with meditation teachers is that teachers teach from how they've learned it themselves. So I recognize that. But I find in the Thai forest tradition so many kind of imperatives that you have to get this level of samadhi to do vipassana and things like that. And I never got that from Rinpoche, but and it's not that it's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I can know is when a teacher says you've got to get jhana in order to do vipassana, I feel like this. The way teachers can come across as I know, and you've got to do this. There's got an order or an imperative or some sort. What you can't know in that situation is what are you feeling when somebody does that to you. And I trust that approach more than getting caught up in reactivity to it and just being intimidated by it or critical of it. So you can use life, even in the pleasant, the accolades, the praise, the prizes, the blessings that come to you, as well as the criticisms, the fears, the anxieties and worries that life brings to us. So, like with the 4 foundations of mindfulness, you're aware of that? 4 foundations of mindfulness?
Yes.
Like the Gyanupassana, Satipatthana, the body, Vedananapassana, that's Goenkaji's forte, is the Vedana. And Dhitanupassana, Satipatthana is the consciousness, and Dhammanupassana, Satipatthana is Dhamma. And so much of in Thailand, it emphasized Gyanupassana, Vedananupassana, the first 2 foundations, and which for a Western mind, sometimes we can't really do that to the way that, say, if you are, like most, Thailand is a Buddhist country, so its culture is very much integrated with Buddhism. And so, like the Thai monks, Sumedho, they already have an established way through cultural conditioning in the teaching of Buddha, where Westerners, we come to it probably from different places. I'm from a Christian background, and an educated background where question. I have a skeptical mind. I don't have a lot of trust in what people just tell me. And so I found that Jittanupasana Satipatthana was what I actually been using. And what I learned from Rinpoche, because whether it was just me, but what I heard in his talks, in his sermons, very much, this awareness as I've been talking about it. And not so much emphasis on samadhi, getting samadhi, because I've seen this with Western monks, Western people practicing is the attempts to get samadhi, to get something that they don't have, and so they read the Visuddhimagga or scriptures about samadhi and they want to get it, or the teacher says they've got to get these levels of samadhi, but they're not aware of what they're actually feeling. And so it's not that they don't have to get samadhi, but then if we don't have a lot of established faith, saddha, then we suffer from a very critical tendency to doubt ourselves, to doubt the teacher, doubt the scriptures. And so Jittanupasana approaches that very directly, like doubt, uncertainty, insecurity, these kind of mental states that can be Dhamma practice, or as I was saying about Zen koans, or who am I, kind of self-inquiry, is you actually begin to use this doubt, because doubt is not knowing something. It gives you a space like, who am I is a question, doubt. And then you're noticing that gap. I found that approach very, enlightening, very kind of, I could do that. And I've tried the others, the development, so I can do that too, but from my experience, I wanted to get the right kind of understanding first, because my approach through samatha meditation was to attain states. And sometimes I could get them and sometimes I couldn't. And then I'd become very controlling, like angry at people who slam doors or interfere with my practice. I used to make jokes about metta practice, practicing metta bhavana for all sentient beings, and somebody interrupts me and I get out of there, I'm practicing metta. Yes.
How can you give metta to your enemy? Like somebody always picking on you and you have to always forgive. Like, don't they ever learn Hari Ottappa? I'm like, fed up with this and still have to forgive again and again. Am I that stupid?
Well, you think you have to forgive.
Because we have to practice metta.
Yeah, but also, when you start, the formalities of metta is aham sukhito homi, may I be well. It's first directed towards yourself. And that's just the formula, the formulaic pattern, that they give you. But have metta for your own reactions. When somebody insults you or
hit me in the head, like still bingo every day. What?
Have metta for your own reaction, meaning it is what it is, you know. You feel hurt, offended is like this. Have metta for that, meaning learning to accept. Metta doesn't mean liking or forgiving, it's just accepting is like this. And that sign behind you.
Oh, it's like this.
And eventually, you know, because another story I like to tell is in Amaravati years ago, there was one monk that used to give meditation, metta meditation retreats, 10 days of nothing but metta, and they're very popular. And so, you know, one afternoon in the middle of this metta retreat, a woman came to me, who I knew, and she was very upset. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "I can't do it, I'm a horrible person." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, the teacher's always talking about metta, and every time he says, 'Now spread metta to your mother,' I feel anger. And because I'm angry with my mother, I can't have metta, and I must be a terrible person." Everybody, you know, the idea I should have metta for my mother, loving kindness, and she just felt so upset and angry at the teacher, and feeling herself a kind of degenerate person. And so this is what I advise her, what I told you, to have metta for her anger. That's more important. And as you do that, you'll find as you have more acceptance of what you're feeling, like anger or aversion, you begin to, as you have metta for that, that will cease. And then you'll find eventually clear where you can have metta for your mother or people who bully you or whatever, you know, in a real way, rather than just trying to pretend you forgive them.
Yeah, right now I just wait for them to pay back for their karma. Okay, I cannot give you metta, but okay, I can wait.
Some concession.
Okay.
Sound of emptiness which you experience, is it, can you describe it as you feel in tones or low frequency tone, high tone?
It's like it's a high pitch actually, almost like electric. It's not really a sound, it's more like a vibration. And it's continuous. You know, you lose, you know, you can forget about it and not notice it, but as you train yourself with it more and more, you know, I've trained myself over years with it, so I notice it all the time. And even with the sound of pneumatic drills and noisy lawnmowers and traffic jams in Bangkok and all kinds of things. I've used it in airports. I travel a lot. And we're waiting in a queue. Before I used to be very impatient, you know, when I'm going through immigration. And then if there was a long queue, I was in line. And I'd be look at other lines, they seem to be moving faster. And I'd look at the man or woman checking the passports, and I'd be thinking, what are they being so slow about? And I'd get very upset, anxious about it. So I started going into sound of silence, waiting in the queue. And that stopped this kind of restless aversion that I tended to fall into. And then in Amravati in England, the monastery there, they have a lot of lawns, green lawns, and they have a retreat center. So this, you're giving a 10-day retreat. And some of the monks and some of the nuns were they said, when on this 10-day retreat, tell the person in charge of mowing the grass not to come near the retreat center because it'll disturb our practice. Because the lawnmower is very noisy. And so I get the man to come near the retreat center deliberately to get people to look at their reaction, wanting peace and resenting noise. And then also with the sound of the lawnmower, I developed the awareness of sound of silence. So I didn't develop aversion to it. Because if you're in that silence, then you stop thinking, so you're not getting angry about the noise or the interruption.
Apart from the sound, can you use it with the eyes or the smell, other senses instead? Do you think we can apply that kind of thinking or idea into other senses as well? To have it more refined?
Well, it's not necessary. Just do it with consciousness and silence. No, it's very simple. Don't complicate it.
Tell us something on the Sakai Dishti and how to deal with it.
Sakaya Ditti. Sakaya, self-view. Self-view.
Means that his body is I, Sakai, having a body.
Well, more and more as you instruct yourself with wisdom, the sense of I as a physical being, it falls away. Because the ego you create, it's your thinking. To become a personality, you have to think. When you're not thinking, you're not a person. You're not a personality. But we aren't aware when we're not thinking. When we're aware, then thinking comes and goes, and you're more noticing, and you're more interested in non-thinking, because that's what you're informing yourself with. And there's no person in non-thinking. And then thinking arises and ceases according to conditions. But it's dependent on conditions to become like your personality will change according to situations. The weather, how you're feeling, whether things are going well or not, or you won the lottery or didn't. Your personality will change according to whether you're being praised or vilified. And so your personality you can't trust. But this is where the deliberate thinking is I found it made it very clear anatta for me, because I realized that for me to become Ajahn Sumedho, I have to think I am. But most of the time, I don't go around thinking I'm Ajahn Sumedho. But people call me that. But one can assume I could assume I'm Ajahn Sumedho all the time. When I'm not thinking, when I'm asleep. On a conventional level, that's how it works. But in the reality of the moment, to really become Ajahn Sumedho, I have to think about it. I have to create the perception. And this is like teacher-student. Sometimes teachers always, they think of themselves always as teachers. And students They think of themselves always as students. You know, so even when they're not teaching, they're teachers. And even when you're not learning, you're still a student. So you see yourself with a perception of teacher as a constant identity, when it's not. In reality, when the conditions for teaching arise, then you become a teacher. When the conditions for student arise, you become a student. And this awareness is what you're trusting, rather than fixing yourself, always kind of limiting and binding yourself to fixed positions or perceptions. Because, you know, in my field, teachers learn from students, students learn from teachers. It's just the way that it works. But I've known Dhamma teachers who are permanently Dhamma teachers, and they can be quite irritating. Because they always have to teach you, no matter whether you want to be taught or not. Because they fix themselves with that perception. But with mindfulness, you see, you're observing the conditions when teaching, when I'm in that position, the conditions for me to teach, I become a teacher on that conventional level. But when I'm not there, I'm not a teacher when I'm alone. I'm not Ajahn Sumedho when I'm alone. These are what they're called conventional realities. And the Ajahn was always talking about conventional reality, the samut satcha, and ultimate reality, paramata satcha. With mindfulness, you're with paramata satcha. On a conventional level, you know, I still answer to the name Ajahn Sumedho, and they say, where's Ajahn Sumedho? He's in his kuti, and things like that. That's samut satcha. We don't get rid of that, but we're no longer limited to the conventional conventions we've acquired. We know when the conditions arise for being a student or like this, teaching like this. This is like Buddhadatta Bhikkhu in yourself. He was very much emphasizing this itabhajyana, dependent, the conditions dependent always on each other, condition phenomena. And so, this is that's a fascinating way to look at it, because then you begin to see to become a Sakya Ditti, the personality, you have to attach to the thinking first. Then you become what you're thinking. But if you let go, there's still, then thinking is empty phenomena. It is what it is. And you're still capable of functioning in society. You're not spaced out and capable of operating on a conventional social realm, but you're no longer deluded by it or limited by it.
As a student, how to measure our progress? Okay, how much progress I made in this path?
Well, I see myself always as an encourager. That's what it takes, encouragement. Because it's very simple, being aware is very simple. But then when we think about it, it becomes complicated. And so much, and Dhamma is ultimate simplicity. It's not complicated in any way. And then there's Abhidhamma, there's scriptures, enormous amount of scriptures and books written on Buddhist teaching. And so it may sound very complicated. But this is where, when with the mindfulness practices, then this is the essence of the Buddhist teaching. This is the heart of it. This is the uniqueness of it, and the emphasis on sati sampajanya, on mindfulness, because like theistic religions depend on faith, sada, faith in doctrines, where the Buddha's announcement after enlightenment that the gate to the deathless is open. This is where mindfulness is the gate to the deathless, to amattanama, to deathless reality. So, that's why you're here, for me to encourage you, not to teach you. Because we can get very discouraged, as you're probably well aware. Self-doubt, and then we all have challenges in our practice where obsessions arise, and how do we deal with doubt or fear, and so where a teacher, is encouraging awareness, but not trying to intimidate you. Like I decided years ago never to, because I realized being in the position I'm in, that I have tremendous effect on people, what I say. So I've got to be careful about what I say. So because what kind of mood I'm in and what I say has a powerful effect on me. Because I'm the center of people's of a community. You're living in a monastic community. You're the kind of center of it. So I determined never to tell people they can't meditate, or they don't have enough samadhi, or they're too egotistical, or they've got too much anger. I don't tell anything. I encourage awareness. Because, if I say anything, they tend to grasp what I say. And this is all about encouraging and leading, guiding, not bullying or kind of convincing you that you're not a good meditator if you can't get fourth jhana or something like that, or that you can't do it. So that's the gift we have as Buddhists. And that's why it's needed now so much, because the age, worldwide is interested in it now. Like 50, 60 years ago, there wasn't. Like in the States, nobody's interested in Buddhism. And if you're brought up as a Christian and you're told that it's a pagan religion, you dismiss it because it's not Christian. And now there's Vipassana groups, meditation groups all over, in Midwest, in places most unlikely. Like yoga, for example, back in the early 60s, 1960, I started practicing yoga in San Francisco. And it was just hatha yoga, more or less a physical exercise. and there was a yoga studio not far off Market Street, the main street, two sentences. And so I was telling friends about yoga, and they said, "We don't want to do that, you know. Stand on your head, contemplate your navel, chant Om." That's that's old-fashioned stuff from India. And now there's yoga groups everywhere, all over the United States, and in Britain. In every town there's a yoga group. And it's interesting, the past 60 years, how many Eastern customs have entered into the Western civilization. Yoga is now just ordinary, kind of taken for granted as a normal thing, good thing to do. Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation. Yes?
I want to ask you, I want to ask you a question, but I'm afraid that I cannot ask in a proper way because of my English. That's why I will ask Karin to help me if I cannot speak English well. So I want to ask you about the mind. And have you ever used your mind in a different way than just meditate, just calm the mind and to get samadhi, all the things? What I'm trying to say, today lots of scientists, they are researching, they are investigating our mind, right? And they come to the conclusion that we can use our mind in some different ways, and if we are conscious enough, we can create something with our mind. For example, we can heal, or we can create situation which we want to be in. I want to ask you, what do you think about this using of mind, about this kind of meditation, when you just not calm yourself, and when you're just not in here and now, but you are creating something, you are healing, you are willing.
Well, like calming the mind is like one form of meditation. There's like breathing, contemplating the breath. Inhalation, exhalation leads to calming the mental formation. And that's very simple. That's like, learning how to, like you can excite your mind through looking at exciting things, war and so forth, are all exciting perceptions. And as you concentrate on calming perceptions, such as the breath, or like I was talking about, sound of silence, or there's so many techniques to calm the mental states. That leads to developing powers, and the consciousness itself that's where the healing process can work, through consciousness, through not me trying to heal you or you trying to heal me, but through emptying the mind of me into a state of pure awareness. And then the relationship is one with you rather than me trying to do something to you. So, like healing, some people have abilities for healing. Because I've been going through this healer up in Kunming, China. I went once, and he is a herbalist, Chinese herbalist, and he just looks at you and knows what physically, what you know is not so normal or healthy in your body. So to this day, I'm drinking this terrible brew of Chinese, but it seems to work. You know, how could this man, never met me before, can't even speak Thai or English, know about what's going on in my body? And he just looked at a photograph, and then when I actually went to Kunming, I saw him, and he just looked at me very briefly. But something I can't explain. But when your refuge is in awareness, then the other abilities, like healing abilities, tend to be very very good. It helps, it encourages. So in just the use of English, I like mine tends to be more mental states, like emotions and thoughts, conditions that arise and cease. And consciousness is, mind states arise and cease in consciousness. So for, ultimate liberation, and then our refuge is in pure consciousness, pure awareness. Does that help you?
Have you ever used your consciousness such kind of by yourself?
He's asking if you ever used your consciousness in a healing way yourself.
Well, I've never seen myself as a healer. I've never had that perception of myself. But metta I do, loving kindness.
What is the illness from the spiritual point of view? Illness, sickness, what is it?
What is sickness from a spiritual point of view?
Well, it's the nature of sankhara, of conditions. And I call sankharas, they whether they're mental or physical, through the senses, like the physical body, it's born into this realm of old age, sickness, death. So old age, sickness is a part of life, and death is the natural result of birth. So it's like the law of karma, cause and effect. If you're not born, you don't die, and if you're not born, you don't get sick. But this realm is about change, and it's not always change for the best. The environment's degenerating, and there's so many, and just planetary problems, and overpopulation, things like that, are just the result of the birth and death. And now people live longer. So, like in UK, for example, in England, got a problem with so many old people. What to do with them? and then, and where before, I should have died 20 years ago. Here I'm still going. This is the medical treatments, the extending of life, medical technology is fantastic. What they can do through medical technology, through dentistry, and then there's always in human realm that trying to stop epidemics. Like in Europe, for example, in 1200s, the bubonic plague destroyed 3/4 of the population. And that doesn't happen anymore. You know, we have plagues, but there's more awareness about how to deal with them. But you go into England, into the old churchyards in the villages, and where they used to bury the dead. There's so many gravestones. You know, I used to go in these little churches in the countryside and look at the gravestones, and so many are young women died in childbirth at 20, 21. Women used to, that used to be another form of a dangerous situation of giving birth. And now that's, the death in childbirth is extremely rare. So, and that's why there's more population, and old people, diets are better, and so forth. So there's many good things developed through modern technology, modern science. But we still have old age, sickness, and death to face, all of us. It's just part of the realm is like this. And then the desire to control it, to make it perfect, where everybody is healthy and equal, and respecting the environment and unselfish. I mean, these are ideals. They're ideals that we hold, and they're beautiful. But that's not the way things are, actually. And so Dhamma is awakening to the way things are. It's not pessimistic, but it's like all sankharas are impermanent. It's just the way things are. That's their very nature. And as we accept that, we begin to free ourselves from the feeling that it shouldn't be this way, or you shouldn't be the way you are, or this person. We have formed judgments about each other, about you shouldn't be the way you are. And as we open to Dhamma, then this is the way he or she is like this. And it's an acceptance, rather than the critical mind. That when you're living in a monastic community, you can be very idealistic, want everybody to live up to what you think is normal, high standard of behavior, and feel very upset and critical of monks who don't live up to these high standards, and you suffer. You suffer a lot by wanting things to be other than they are, and so that's the first noble truth of suffering. So I began to observe. No, people, we each have our karma to work out. Each of us is different from each other. The only thing that is one with us is consciousness, where we're the same, where we're one. But on the level of physical form, we're all different, and what we're thinking right now isn't going to be the same for each one of us. So what you're feeling isn't, it can vary from, I don't know. That's just the nature of sankhara. And it's learning, that gives you, like the Dhamma gives you this spaciousness to accept life. It doesn't mean you approve. It's not that you're justifying crime and war and so forth. It's just that war is a result of ignorance. And as long as human beings remain ignorant, there's going to be conflict in families, in amongst nations, fears, propaganda, mass media can stir up all kinds of fears and desires. So this is where mindfulness is a refuge. This is a terribly materialistic age, and where people, are encouraged to be discontented and envious and jealous of each other. I think that's what advertising does. It makes you want something you don't need. To be, they hold up, film stars and that as role models for us in terms of physical appearance and form and whatnot. And the last year's model car makes you feel, you've got to get in the new form, the better model, more up to date model of vehicle in order to be self-respecting. And this is what advertising, the whole system is based on stirring up desire. That's why it's important to understand what desire. And then we can hate the system. We can be against the free market and modern materialism and protest against it is one reaction. But to understand it in terms of Dhamma is more useful, both for yourself and for the society you live in. So I think it's been nearly 2 hours.